What up, good people? What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? These mosquitoes today have lit me up. Lit me up. So, I'm sharing something that was downloaded in my spirit as I was just riding today. And it is going to be rituals have a rhythm. I like to play on words. But what I want to be talking about is rituals have a rhythm. And I think this download came about because I was sitting just reflecting on the silly stuff I see from individuals or industry events or just all types of different things, right? Even the news and politics. But rituals have a rhythm. And it's funny considering where I was reflecting on as far as reflecting on just things we see in the industry or in politics or different things like that, right? Because when you think about the industry, especially the music industry, well, it's full of rhythm, right? Music is full of rhythm. There's beats, there's guitar, there's all types of different instruments that construct rhythm. You get rhythm out of it. And so when you think about rituals are spiritual practices or beliefs that you do.
There are police reported ahead.
But you do them in an order. Hey everybody, if you just joined in, what I'm talking about is rituals have a rhythm, okay? Rituals have a rhythm. And this topic came about, I was just driving and reflecting on the different things that I see or that I deal with when it comes to being gang stalked, when it comes to individuals doing things, trying to throw me off from my own rhythm, right? Trying to throw me off of my own rhythm. And so what they'll do is they'll implement these different rituals, right? So I see a lot of people, which is funny, but I see a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll try to imitate my story, my life, or things that they've heard about my life. The research that they've done, like the investigations that they've done behind the scenes concerning my life, investigating my family relationship and dynamics, investigating the BS that exes may have said concerning me and their dealings with me, right? They take into account all of these different things and then they incorporate them into their rituals that they use to try and throw me off of my own rhythm. I'm gonna give you an example from the Bible, right? When we look at, I believe it was Abraham, where he was about to bless his sons Isaac and Jacob, and one of the sons ends up dressing up like his brother because he wanted to steal his inheritance. Now the funny thing is, he had someone that mentored him on what he needed to do to be able to mimic his brother to be able to steal his inheritance. Follow me. He had a mentor. He had someone teach him what he needed to do to be able to steal his brother's inheritance. What's crazy was his mentor was his mother. His mother was the one who instructed him what he needed to do and in what order and in what way for him to be able to succeed at mirroring his brother so his father would not know that it was the wrong child. You get where I'm going? So for example, when I look at the people that are in the industry or in politics or different things like that, when all of this stuff came out concerning me, right? The things that my exes or people from my past were saying about me, right? What I began to see is that people in the industry randomly all started talking about how their relationship woes, and they started mocking different things like that. And we've already been exposed last year and still this year concerning the different rituals or the different wicked practices that they incorporate into their music, into their art, into their daily life, right? We see a lot of the industry people that have now been pictured with the witch with the black fingertips, right? It's witchcraft. And so when I see a lot of them now all of a sudden having stories like woe is me that mirrors or lines up with the things that my exes have said concerning me, the download dropped in my head. Rituals have a rhythm. So there's a pattern that you're able to track, because you have to do rituals in a certain order for you to be able to be successful. And even if we look back at the story between Abraham and giving the inheritance to his two sons, right? The only reason the brother was successful at stealing his brother's inheritance was because the brother didn't catch him before his dad blessed him with the inheritance. Follow me. The brother did not expose his brother because he was off gathering the ingredients he needed to be able to make the soup that his father had requested from him, right? And so the brother snuck in, the mother made the dish for him, and he was successful in stealing the inheritance because he was not able to call out the wickedness that he was incorporating, right? He was not able to disrupt the rhythm that his brother and his stepmother or extra mom, whatever you want to call it, because he still had his own mom, right? He was not able to disrupt the rhythm of his brother's action. He was not able to disrupt the rhythm of his brother's ritual to steal his inheritance. And so it's been very interesting to me. I get online and I ain't been saying nothing because I just been taking note. I just been watching like, okay, bam, that person. Oh, dang, that minister, that prophet, dang, that evangelist, dang. I just been taking note. But God put words to it. Rituals have a rhythm. And if you're not able to disrupt the person's rhythm, then you can't throw them off, right? That's why when you see people mirroring you or mimicking you, it's not because they're automatically admiring you, right? When we think of the story of the two brothers and the brother stealing his brother's inheritance in the Bible, it was because he had hate and envy and jealousy in his heart towards his brother. Even when we look at the story between Satan and Jesus, right? You can look at it as duality or whatever you want to, however you want to look at it to be able to receive what I'm telling you. Whatever. What I'm telling you is Satan imitates God. Why? Because he wants to be able to receive the praise and worship that is due to Jesus Christ. So darkness imitates light because it wants to be able to steal the praise and the worship that's only due to God. And so when you have blessings, when you have gifts, when you have inheritance, when you have things stored up for you, you have to be able to catch the rhythm and the ritual that people will perform to try and throw you off of the rhythm that God has intended for you. Rituals have a rhythm. Rituals have a rhythm. These people are making up all of these stories about, oh, my relationship is this. Oh, this pregnancy caused my teeth to be like this with this gap. Oh, my baby is now on a tablet. You know what's interesting about all that BS I be seeing, these stories that they make up, the propaganda that they throw out for you to get hooked on? It's not their story. They were never talking about that before, but now all of a sudden, that's what they want to talk about. Right? You see people giving award speeches and they talking about their grandma. This person has been private for the majority of their career. But now all of a sudden they got 5 Grammys and they want to put on bell-bottom pants like somebody else that they watching. Oh, now they want to talk about their grandma. They ain't never talked about too much of their personal life outside of a song. It's rituals. All of it is rituals. It's witchcraft. They've been showing you in the art that Satan, darkness, is who they serve, who they worship. I know some of y'all have already caught on that a lot of the stuff that they doing, that they saying, it don't make sense to what you have already known or experienced from their time on stage or as an entertainer, as a performer. It's all rituals. Even when it came down to me, I made a statement. I don't even know if I ever put it on video. I think I did actually say it in a video when I was talking about just my past with my exes, right? I was saying how I was raped by this guy. I was raped by this guy, and my attitude about it, right, was thank God at least there was nothing there for me to be like, oh, what was me? So then what I noted is they put propaganda, or they put a clip out, right, where it was during I don't even like saying that ninja name, during Buddy's trial, that was on trial for sex trafficking and the RICO charge, right? They had a headline out saying that something about it being like a Tootsie Roll. That was what I said about the experience I had being raped. That was not his story. That was not his experience. He just said it because he was trying to intimidate me or trying to get up under my skin, because he's apparently, possibly, according to some of the stuff that came out, has done it before, and it probably worked on the people that he was trying to get up under their skin. Rituals have a rhythm, and if you don't have sight to pick up on the pattern, to pick up on the rhythm, then you can't disrupt it, to disrupt the witchcraft that's going out. Now all of a sudden you see people talking about, oh, they working on this, they working on that. They still demons. They not working on nothing. They just saying it because they know that right now the world is moved by people being fake vulnerable, because that's what a lot of people are doing. They're not being genuinely vulnerable. They're not being genuinely authentic, because you know if they were, they would tell you why they set up that lady to die. They would get real raw with their authenticity. They'll tell you why they do the rituals in their videos to be successful, to have money. If they wanted to be real and raw, they would tell you those things. They wouldn't make up lies and say, oh, this is my experience, this is my story, I went through this, I went through that. And I'm not saying they didn't go through certain things, but when they start mentioning things that's out of the blue, that don't make sense to what you already know about them, they're lying. It's a ritual, and it has a rhythm, meaning there's a pattern, there's a consistency, there's something that you can track, right? You can track it because it's a ritual. You have to do it in order, and in the industry, they have to tell you. They have to tell you what they're doing. Just like they put all of the things in the movies and they do different things like that. They have to tell you. The issue is everybody does not have sight, or everybody does not have the knowledge to pick up or to realize the rhythm that's being implemented, that's being strung out. And what better group than people that's already familiar with music. It's a sound. It's energy. What are we? Energy. There's some things that you just feel. There's some things that you just know. There's some things that you can easily pick up on and follow the beat, much like music. It's a rhythm. Rituals are a rhythm. And if you're not vigilant, if you're not aware, if you're not observant, you'll allow something to manifest or carry on because you weren't able to disrupt the rhythm. I seen an older lady online today, and her story, I know it was made up. But what she was talking about, it was just so funny to me because I know me. I know me. Meaning I know my print. I know my texture. I know my sound. I know my experiences. I know my stamp. And if you're not doing the work to know yourself, you'll listen to someone feeding you back to you. And I've seen so many people do that since all of this BS with people that I don't even associate with. I don't even look up. I don't even care what they're doing with their life. I don't care. But they're so obsessed and concerned with me because they're eyeing what's mine. Satan imitates Christ, which is the light, because he wants what's due to God for himself. He wants the praise. He wants the worship. He wants the recognition. He wants the influence. He wants to be able to manipulate your minds, right? That's why people can't always give you their true raw self, right? Because if they did, they'll tell you, I know the dude that I married, I know he bisexual. I know he lay down with this witch. I'm going to lay down with him still, and I'm going to still have these babies with him, but I love who he is. They'll tell you that. If they could be raw and honest about their experiences, they'll openly tell you, this happened to me. I didn't like it, but I settled into it because I didn't know how to get out of it. I feared the only option that I knew to get out of it. They would tell you that if they were being raw and authentic with you. But instead, what they do is they try to put on the cloak of somebody else's story, because much like the brothers in the Bible, they feel like if they do that, if they wear the dressing, if they wear the clothes, if they adorn themselves like the essence of somebody else, then they'll be able to receive what that person was supposed to receive. In other words, they dress themselves up. I told y'all also I'm being gang stalked at a higher level than what my exes started. Because every time I get on here and talk, there's always a car with one of those little engines that finds me to make noise in the background. This ain't no lower level stuff that I have to deal with every day. But I do it with a smile and still being me. Well, it ain't always a smile. I'm telling a lie right there. It ain't always a smile. But I always find a smile before the day is over. Or in between the day. There's going to be a smile at least once throughout the day. I might not keep it all today, but it's going to be there. This is what I deal with. This is what I deal with. But rituals have a rhythm. Rituals have a rhythm. Some people can't tell you their deep, dark truths. Because they'll tell you, yeah, I sold out. But I don't like the deal that I got because I'm not I don't have the success that I thought I should have. My gift is so great, it should have been further. I was talking the other day about a YouTube video that I saw where Chloe was talking about the movie Sinners, right? And it was interesting because the following day, I ended up reading scripture that was talking about how the rich are naked. But see, the difference between Adam and Eve being naked in the garden, I was talking about that also. Adam and Eve's nakedness before sin and Adam and Eve's nakedness after sin was completely different. See, sin and shame, nakedness in sin brings about shame. So you can't tell the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth because you're ashamed of it. That's what nakedness in sin gets you. Everybody's talking about the movie Sinners. They were talking about the movie Sinners, right? I never watched the movie. But everybody was talking about the movie Sinners. And it was interesting that she brought the movie back up after the noise about it had died back down. But see, the difference between shame when you're a sinner and shame when you're in the will and in the obedience in the garden of God is one brings shame, one brings abundance, rest, and peace. You're fulfilled in one, you're shamed in the other. Because Adam and Eve didn't know they were naked and needed to be clothed until they committed the sin. And see, that's what you see a lot of sinners do, right? They try to hide the full extent of the sin that they're committing. They don't want you to catch on to the full and true rhythm. They don't want you to catch on to the depths of the rituals that they had to do to even get in the rhythm that they're at right now. Are you hearing me? They don't want to reveal the depths of the rituals that they had to implement to be able to stand in the current rhythm that they're in right now. Rituals have a rhythm. They have a rhythm. And what's interesting is a lot of people who don't care, don't want to get that deep. They want to still say, oh, we still love this. I'm not here to convince you to not love anybody, right? Because even the people who I see do these things and I can track and know that they're doing these things, I don't hate them. I hate the spirits that they're allowing to use them. Because they're vile. They do nasty things. Sinners are sinners. We all fall and come short of God's glory. But the difference between sin with Satan and sin with God is there's a grace. There's a grace period, at least, with God. God gives us a grace period. See, when you're on the devil's team, you got to get deeper and deeper into the rituals, deeper and deeper into the sin. You can look at certain artists, right? One in particular, I seen a little clip of her today and I kind of chuckled and laughed because she claims she's now at the space where she doesn't have to prove herself. And I thought it was interesting because some of the mess that's going on about her now was like, well, if you did all of what you did trying to prove yourself to your ex-husband, you should have stayed with him because you went into another predicament that was worse than the predicament you was just in with your husband. But see, some people, I don't know if they can tell you that because they got to maintain them rituals that they got to do. See, because at one point, that same person that I'm talking about, I didn't see too many pictures of her with a witch. You know, the one with the fingers. I ain't really see too many pictures of her with the witch. But after she started randomly talking junk and trying to claim that she's anointed, she might be anointed. It's just not for the kingdom of God. She could be anointed. It's just whatever kingdom Miss Blackfinger serves, she anointed in that one. But it's not with Christ. But see, these are the rituals that people have to do to establish the rhythm for what they're trying to accomplish. Because rituals have a rhythm. Rituals have a rhythm. Our bodies naturally have a rhythm. See, people will try their best to get on code with the life of somebody that they desire to have, whether it's due to envy and jealousy, like we saw between the two brothers in the Bible, like we see so much in the world today. The people who are jealous and envious, those are the ones always trying to get on the same frequency, the same code as the person that they're jealous or envious or just they have hatred towards, right? And that's all works of the flesh, which we know is not of God anyway. So when I see people do that and then they try to say, oh, God this and God that, but your flesh is wretched because you hate your neighbor. You're doing things intentionally trying to set up traps for your neighbor. You're praying people into the hands of Satan, and it's your neighbor. And you're saying, but I love and serve God. You claim to love and serve God so much, but deep down you hate who He created you to be. You hate where you're at, because if you love where you are at so much, you wouldn't spend so much time trying to steal the essence and the likeness and the life of somebody else. You would appreciate and enjoy the essence and the life that God has created and established for you. But see, there's so many people in the world who are so comfortable with doing these rituals because they're trying to disrupt their own rhythm and somebody else's. But see, the problem for some of you people who do these things is you don't realize that some people have attuned ears, eyes, whatever you need to pick up on the rhythm. And I'm not shaking. I just want you to know that I'm sitting here still. So whatever that little shake was, that's not me. This camera looking like this is also not me doing anything. I don't have a filter or anything on the camera. I'm just happen to be sitting in the dark. I just want y'all to know that I wasn't moving when the thing was shaking. But there are rhythm. There's a rhythm to rituals. And rituals have to be done in order. Can you imagine if, I want to say it was Jacob. Can you imagine if Jacob was able to enter, wait, I think it was, I'm going to get them mixed up. Okay, I get Isaac and Jacob mixed up. But listen. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I'm going to get them mixed up. But could you imagine if the rightful brother who was supposed to receive the inheritance from his father had disrupted his brother's mimicking of him? He could have maintained his inheritance. Do you know that? If he would have disrupted his brother's show, his brother's act, right? Because that's what's taking place with these rituals. They're acting as something that they're not. It was funny because I was listening to somebody, and I bet their only wish was for me to never tell my testimony, was for me to never speak on what I experienced at the hands of people just like him. At the spirits of people like him who allow those spirits to operate within him. I'm sure that was his one wish. No. No. It ain't granted though. That wish ain't granted. And I don't know what long life that lying pastor told you got to live. Because last time I checked in the word, your time about up for real, for real. If you want to be serious, I believe the furnace that you got scheduled for you is probably heating up and expanding now to receive you soon, very soon. So he keeps speaking about how he ain't gonna be here much longer. And if he manifests that for his own life, because I rebuke and bind it for anybody else's life, I'm sure there's been many lives connected to him that's already gone from the earth. So again, rituals have a rhythm. And if you're not in tune with your rhythm, you'll allow someone to carry on trying to be you when all is well with you. You have no mental issues. You're in your full health. You're in a sound mind. You know your left from right, you're up and down, you're not suicidal. You know, that's another ritual, another rhythm that you see sometimes in the industry, right? A person will outright say, I'm not this, I'm not that. And then when you see their death report, they try to make it seem like they were the exact thing that they said they weren't. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? It's just so interesting. It's really interesting. But see, in this new space, this new earth that God wants to establish, I'm not sure if you are a disruptor. I know what it is to disrupt something, though. But there's so much stuff that goes on that no one, I won't say no one, because that's not true. That's not accurate. There's so much stuff that goes on. And the voices that are powerful enough or that have the influence to make a difference, to change things, the only thing that they're really doing a lot of the times is feeding you gossip. And that is another form of entanglement. I have to catch myself on some of the gossip that I myself be listening to. It's another form of entanglement. And you know who else I want to say was interesting when I sat and thought about rituals having a rhythm? There was this lady that she sat on the blue couch. And I actually like how she talks, because she kind of reminds me of Orlando Brown. Hey, Orlando! But she kind of reminds me of how Orlando Brown talks sometimes, you know? because how he talks is he gives you stuff in riddles. But if you don't have the mind to break down what he's saying, you miss what he's saying. But see, the lady on the couch, she has her own rhythm in how she talks. But she slides little stuff in there. She slides little stuff in there. And there was one little clip of hers that she was talking about. And I think it went over a lot of other people's head, but it didn't go over mine. But what she said that stuck to me was, you can't do it, it works. And see, I forget what else she was talking about around that, because that was what stuck to me. But what she was talking about were the rituals in the Bible. Because see, one of the other rituals or rhythms that I see a lot when you think about some of the stuff that takes place in the world, in the industry, in all of these different things, right? Is they say and do a lot of things that you can find has relation to things that are in the Word. Now, whether it aligns with the Word on the good side or bad side, it's something totally different, and you have to be vigilant to be able to catch it. But she said that, and it has stuck with me since she said it. See, sometimes we get so enamored with people and we put them on these pedestals, and they're so great at minimizing their hand in pots sometimes, that you'll overlook the fact that their hand was still in the pot that was used for your destruction. Yep. It's a lot of people out here like that. It's a lot of people out here like that. They'll mimic and mock you down to you misspelling words. They'll do that. And it's something slight, right? It's something slight, but why would you do that? And you don't typically do that if you're not doing it with ill intent. Why would a person do that if it's not typical of them to do, if they're not doing it with ill intent? See, you have to give access. And one of the rituals that they'll do to try to gain access to you is they'll try to intentionally offend or trigger you. But see, the interesting thing about people who do things like that is the Word tells us not to offend the little ones. And I believe a lot of people hear that and they think about children only. They think about the children only. But it also deals with the little ones, the babies in faith, the babies that are learning about the different things in the Word, that are trying to do right and be better at building or establishing their relationship with God, right? It relates to them also. And sometimes babies can be adults. Sometimes adults are babies, because a lot of the people who I see do some of these rituals and who have their hand in trying to disrupt my rhythm are actually 50 plus years old, which is wild to me because I'm not even 40 yet. But it's honestly not too wild considering half of them like people that are younger than them. So, and when I say younger, I mean 10 plus years younger than them. We won't even go to even lower ages of younger than them. But rituals have a rhythm. And if you're not able to disrupt the rhythm of the person or individual that's trying to steal your inheritance, see, a lot of people listen to all of the mess that people from my past said concerning me, and they thought, oh, this has to be true about her. I don't know every single thing that was said because, again, I don't look them ninjas up. I don't know where they have posted me at online for the world to watch my life every single day. But the little glimpses of stuff that I've seen, it wasn't my story. They ain't had nothing to do with me. That was a story of the girl after me. And it's funny because you hear those people that's fake anointed, and they're talking about they not at the place where they gotta prove themselves no more. That's a gaslighting and manipulation tactic. Because the only person who don't want you to tell your truth or tell your story is someone that benefits from your story being in the dark. They don't want you to speak up because then it exposes their wicked hands in the pot. And it's funny coming from a person who spent so much of their career always trying to prove a point. But now, supposedly, you're at a point where you don't want to prove yourself. It's so many people that still got questions about all them crows and craziness you done got in your videos lately. But, it's growth. Growth is a beautiful thing if you are at the point where you're not trying to prove yourself. That's a beautiful thing. But see, in my case, in my scenario, people don't want me to talk because it exposes their hands being dirty when it pertains to me and my situation. That's sometimes why people don't want you to talk. I've told my side already. It's on my page. There's no shame concerning my past. I did what I did. I learned what I learned. You move on from it. But see, the rituals that people have to go through just to try and be you is only successful if you don't cut it off. That girl and that guy that I once associated with, they tried to paint my life and my story with their experience. Because by them trying to switch their life roles with my life roles, then that would line them up to try and inherit what's for me, right? But there's some people, you can't get away with stuff like that. People are like, oh, I'm going to talk about this stuff till the day I die. What's this going to do for you besides make you more miserable? Eventually, you got to move on. It's different if you're using it to help somebody else, right? But eventually, you'll get to the point where you're beyond that, to where it's not your entire personality. It's not your entire career. Just like you get divorced, you move on. Your ex-husband is not going to be your entire career. You have to rebrand because you moved on from that person, right? My life and my story is my life and my story. But from the little glimpses of the mess that I did get to hear concerning the foolery that people from my past were saying about me, that was their story. About them, themselves. And it was a ritual because they were trying to establish a rhythm concerning who they wanted to be viewed as and who they wanted the world to see me as. There's rhythm and rituals. These people's stories don't make sense because it ain't their story. They have the resources to make anything appear real. I seen a clip of a lady. I don't know if she used to wear a butt suit or if she actually had butt work done. But they posted a clip of this lady, and the clip was talking about was she wearing a diaper. I laughed so hard about that. I laughed so hard about it. Because in my head, I've never had a butt job. I've never needed to have one. God bless me and my mother and my grandma and my aunts with all of that. So when I saw it, I laughed because naturally, when you are born with a natural shape, you understand the struggle of the gap that your pants will have in between the small of your back and the curve of your back, because jeans are not custom made to fit the difference in circumference. So I chuckled so hard when I saw that, and I knew it was fake and propaganda because people with natural bodies, they already understand that struggle. Pants are not custom made unless you buy them that way. And everybody's not in a situation to where they're on a stage or platform to where they can have jeans custom made to fit their custom behinds. So I thought that was funny because my body is natural. I know there's going to be a gap sometimes in your jeans because jeans are not made with just your shape only in mind. They're not made like that. So the silly things that people do, trying to disturb your rhythm, trying to intentionally offend you, trying to intentionally be in your business, going out of their way to do things, to say things, all of the things people do, it's rituals. Some of it is insecurity. A lot of it is jealousy and envy. A lot of it is jealousy and envy, much like the brothers in the Bible. But it's because they want something you have. They want what's destined for you. It's a precursor to the thief that works and operates within them. And who else do we know to be a thief? Satan. So what would his kids and workers of darkness or iniquity also be? Thieves. That's why there's rhythm in rituals. It's an energy. It's a sound. It's a pattern. It's something that you can pick up on if you're paying attention. The problem because of the internet, because of how things are set up in the world, is our attention spans aren't as long as they once were because of social media. I'm moving this because people position themselves sometimes, like I said, just to be in my space, in my face. So again, rituals have a rhythm. Rituals have a rhythm. And that's the download I got earlier. That's what I wanted to share with you all. Gotta pay attention. And you can't be so gullible to believe every single thing somebody say about a person, or every single lie a person tells, just because you admire the person. There are some people in the industry, in the gospel ministry, in the world, in your neighborhood, at your job, at the school, wherever you at, that'll go out of their way to paint a narrative about somebody just because they dislike them, just because they hate them. And because so many people desire to be included, to be accepted, to be relevant to the times or what's going on, they'll just jump on the bandwagon. Even if the bandwagon is leading them to the pits of the abyss, they're going to jump right on it. Sheep. Sheep of darkness and sheep of light. Sheep. I think an interesting quote is the one that talks about envy being as cruel as the grave. Because what the envious person does not understand is that not only does your envy impact the person that you dislike, it also impacts you. Because the grave that you believe you're digging for that other person, you're also digging it for yourself. You are digging it for yourself. And depending on who you digging the grave for, you better hope you ain't digging too deep and it's only for you. You end up being the one getting knocked off your feet and fall in the trap. You end up being the one that dug your own demise because you were attacking somebody else. The rhythm you try to establish for somebody else, not only did it disrupt your own rhythm, but it established a new rhythm for you that led to the grave. Versus the rhythm that you had to begin with, which maybe allowed you to not see the grave so soon. Y'all watch me wherever you watch me from every day. And there are so many people in ministry, out of ministry. The ones out of ministry is understandable, but the ones in ministry who try to paint or make it seem like I'm this wicked person is so amusing to me. It's amusing to me. And it's funny because if you follow the rhythm concerning their connections or associations, they're the main ones hanging with devils, associating with devils. And they're okay with being on that beat. Why? Because they have the connections, they have the resources, they have the rhythm to where they know that they have their audience in such a ritual of believing how they have things ordered, right? Because rituals are orders, do things in a certain order, a certain spiritual belief, that they know you won't question them. They know you won't pray and ask God to reveal to you who they are. They know that you'll still support them, even if the majority of who you see them supporting are the very same people that God told them to be separate from. But they'll still tell you, I still serve God. And because you still bop to something, a rhythm, a beat, a album that they might have established in the past, you're like, oh no, we gonna stand beside them. We gonna stand beside him. He ain't had the courage to stand beside Jesus and say, nah, that wasn't a good joke. But you gonna stand beside him because that album he made back in 1997. I'm just throwing out a year. I don't know when the album was made, but yeah, you probably that album he made in '97 got me through some things. Even though they show you repeatedly who they truly in partnership for, who they truly serve, they're ashamed to speak up and say anything to their true masters concerning who they claim to have faith in. But they not afraid to do them rituals at them awards with the very same people God told them to be separate from. Oh, they know the rhythm of those beats. They know the rhythm of how they supposed to swing them hips, tapping them women's dress shoes. Oh, they know that. They know that beat. I ain't supposed to be laughing. They know it. But they don't know how to stand on business for the Lord. They don't love God enough to say that wasn't funny. Like your other jokes. See, I don't know about y'all, but I've been experiencing this for quite a time now. And I'm over pretending like I don't see the mess. I'm over pretending like ignoring it is always the answer. Sometimes, a good bit of times, yes, it's a sufficient tool, it's a sufficient measurement. All the time, absolutely not. These people that some of you still worship, they know God is the true and living God. But they already chose who they gonna serve. They show you in your face who they serve. Rituals are intentional. Rituals are intentional. You have to do that with intention, in order. It's intentional. Meaning lacing the rhythm of music to disrupt your rhythm. That's intentional. It's intentional when a person who hates you or dislikes you tries to put on the essence of any part of your story or your being. That's intentional. That's an attack on you. It's intentional. It's not by accident. People, if you can see, people will try to gaslight you and say you crazy. Didn't one of y'all favorite people say that? When you tell the truth, or when you, I forgot how they worded it. But didn't they say that? They'll try to make you out to be crazy. A couple different people actually said that were in that exact same field. I think it was comedy. But what they say, there's always truth in the jokes. Even though I think when they said it, only one of them was joking. The other one was at an interview, and he wasn't joking. What he say? What he say? Sometimes the person is in a crazy environment or experiencing something crazy. It's the environment that's making them that way. It's the people that they're around that's making them that way. It's what they're enduring. Yeah, that's intentional. Especially when there's eyes, mouths, and hands involved. They're all linked up, grouped up, organized up, intentionally trying to make a person go crazy. The beautiful thing is, I'm not crazy. I'm not blind either. And I'm not deaf. I know a good beat when I hear one. I know a stolen beat. I know a stolen rhythm. I know the sound of envy and jealousy even when it's light. Rituals have a rhythm. And if you do nothing after hearing this message, I hope you pray and ask God to help you tune in to the sounds that you need to hear. Tune in to be able to hear the rhythms of things, that you need to be aware of, that you need to be vigilant about. I spoke the other day too on Elijah and John the Baptist. People talk about reincarnation. And I've gotten to the point where I read the word and I don't even talk about that. But either way, Elijah and John the Baptist. John the Baptist had the spirit of Elijah. But he was not Elijah. It was something about the essence of Elijah, right? But he was not Elijah. He was his own unique individual. When people mimic and steal and you still living, Elijah had already went on to glory, called up to be with the Lord. Elijah had already got the call. John the Baptist was at a completely different time period. But when somebody is trying to have your essence and you're still breathing, they trying to take you out. Don't let that go over your head. The people who are trying to embody you and you're still in your body, your spirit still lives in the flesh, those are the people trying to take you out. Don't let that go over your head. Don't you miss that. Don't miss that. But see, those are the very same people who expect you to stay in the dark. And how ironic, I'm sitting in the dark giving you this message. But those are the exact same people who expect you to stay in the dark and be silent. Because when certain things are taking place, silence is compliance. And when you're walking with God, when you're building and establishing a relationship with God, silence is not always the answer. Especially depending on how God is choosing to use you. Silence is not always the answer. It's not always the correct response. If someone is trying to bait you into mess, silence, ignore it. But if it's something you need to call out, if it's something that you need to speak up about, silence is not going to do that. It's not going to produce what needs to be produced, because you have to use your words. You have to open your mouth. People imitating you and mocking you, it's because they want what's yours. And if you do not disrupt their rhythm, you're aiding in their success of their goal. The brother could have came back and completely threw off his brother's rhythm, completely disrupted his brother's goal of taking his inheritance, had he came back and disrupted his act. Don't miss that. When people, entities, organizations, networks, groups, whoever, cults, whoever are trying to steal, kill, and destroy you, you have to have the courage to disrupt their plans and their intentions. It's not by accident that they're doing what they're doing. Some people say, oh, there's a way to do everything. Sometimes it ain't. You just gotta jump. If it's just you and 10,000, it sounds like a balanced out fight. Ain't that what the words say? One to take 10,000, two will take... What? Sometimes it's a balanced fight. Sometimes you look at your situation, you're like, God, it's just me, and it's 20 of them. God knew you and he could take them. And really, you ain't got to fight, because God gonna deal with it. But if God calls you to go to war, as he did with Moses, as he did with Joshua, you got to line up and go fight. And if he's calling you to disrupt the thing, disrupt it with all you got. Even if it's just your voice. Because only the people who have ill intention for you want you to stay silent all the time. They don't want you to disrupt their plans. They don't want you to put light on their darkness. But that's what this war is all about. Light and darkness, righteousness and truth. So you gotta choose whom you gonna serve. Some people have already made their mind up. And they have made up their mind to such an extent that they propel themselves deeper and deeper into their decision. Yeah, they propel themselves deeper and deeper into that decision. And they want you to stay blind to it. They want you to be silent about it. They want you not to have an issue with it. Because then they can continue to carry out their plans. It's a time to be silent. It's a time to speak. It's a time to mourn. It's a time to rejoice. It's a time and season for everything. If you think that a lot of these distractions, a lot of these talking points that's being put out are not intentional, you're not paying attention to the rhythm. You're not paying attention to the sound. And you got to ask God to fine tune you. Ask God to fine tune you. Just like an instrument. Because it's instruments of darkness that's being used on you, being used against you. And sometimes the instruments show up as individuals. Sometimes the instruments are family. Sometimes the instruments are children. You don't know. Sometimes the instrument could be yourself if you're not daily checking yourself and asking God to renew you or cleanse you. Sometimes you could be the instrument. But if you don't allow God to fine tune you so you can catch the rhythm, so you can notice the pattern, so you can see the order of the rituals, so you can see what's going on, you're going to miss the very thing that you might be called to disrupt. The world we live in can shift so mightily. But if we don't shift how we listen, if we don't shift how we see things, if we don't shift how we do community, if we don't shift how we show up for our neighbors, your neighbors could be white, blue, green, orange, red, gray, purple, turkey, camel, moo. All of that could be your neighbors. Yeehaw. All of it can be. I'm silly. But all of those could be your neighbors, right? And if we don't fine tune ourselves, if we don't prepare ourselves also for the chaos, because sometimes we keep trying to avert the chaos. We keep trying to divert, the chaos happening. It's written. God ain't coming back for peace, love, and light. He's coming back for destruction, to divide. And if you're not fine-tuned, you might end up on the wrong side. Because you thought the rhythm that these people were on was your rhythm, even though the rhythm that they own is still in the world, and you're supposed to be separate from the world. So you out here still catching the rhythm of, oh, this trend, I gotta do this trend, I gotta do this trend. And you ain't fine-tuned the trend to know, wait a minute, that trend got origins that don't line up with the light I'm claiming to be a part of. So now you on the wrong side because you fine-tuned to the world and you not fine-tuned to God. You're not fine-tuned to the Father. God, that was good. You gotta be on the right rhythm. If we're all energy, why do you think, I mentioned a while ago, I don't know the exact date because I done edited something, but I mentioned it a while ago where I was saying like all of the DJs, all of the artists, the uh, individual artists, right, to make music with harps in it. And there was a doggy rapper that said BITCH no. And I chuckled. You want to know why? That wasn't even him speaking. That was that demon in him that was saying that. But he said B no. I wasn't even talking to Rufus. You know, y'all know Rufus is typically a dog name. I wasn't even talking to Rufus. Well, Rufus is actually the mole rat, so maybe we gotta give him another Fido. I wasn't even talking to Fido. I was talking to the individual artists that's not under contract for Satan. I was talking to them. Now, if those that were under the contract for Satan wanted to jump on it, that's different. That's their business. I'm all married to y'all too. Come join the way. What I'm saying is, I wasn't even talking to Rufus. But the spirit in Rufus rose up and was saying no. Why? Because harp has a frequency that disrupts the rhythm of darkness. And how do we know that? Because of Saul and David in the Bible. When Saul had a spirit on him, David played the harp and it fine-tuned Saul to the point where he calmed back down. He simmered down. Did you catch that? Did you catch it? I might have, I heard it, but listen, I can't repeat exactly what I just said. That wasn't me. I heard it though. Did you hear that though? There's a sound. There's a rhythm to the harp that disrupts darkness, that disrupts wickedness. Why do you think God chose the harp? Why do you think somebody in darkness wouldn't want music to have harps and that type of instruments placed throughout it? Why do you think even in the word the musicians went ahead of those in battle? There was a sound that had to be released before battle. Isn't it interesting also in the word that there's going to be trumpets that sound? Sound. Again, sound has a rhythm. And the only way to shift rhythm, when it's on a beat or a track or wherever it's at, you have to disrupt it. If you're not fine-tuned and locked in on the music you're creating, the sound that you're establishing in the earth, it can be easily disrupted. And that's the enemy's whole plan. This is a man that was over music. And he understands that if he can disrupt your rhythm, if he can disrupt your sound, your voice, your purpose, your identity in Christ, your mindset, keeping your mind stayed on him, God, if he can disrupt your love for your wife, if he can disrupt your love for your husband, if he can disrupt your sight and cause you to lust, then he can rewire your rhythm. This should have been in the pulpit. He can disrupt your rhythm. Y'all pastors, don't be stealing my word now. I'm gonna say you a child of darkness. Nah, but for real. Listen, this good. So it's if you piece it in your word, that's what they. But all I'm saying now, if you take this whole thing, you is definitely a seed of Satan. Because ain't no way you about to take what God just gave me and try to... No, don't do that. That ain't right. And it's a woe in the Bible for the people who done that. And I done seen a couple people in ministry do it. Woe to you, okay? Because God has marked you and I done marked you. But we ain't talking about that. But if we disrupting rhythms, I can talk about it. I can talk about it, okay? Because I know my covering is solid. Okay. All I'm saying is, rituals have a rhythm. And whether you disrupt that rhythm through prayer, you disrupt that rhythm through fasting, you disrupt that rhythm through your voice, through calling out a thing, a group, a network, an industry, or whatever it is you got to call out. That's how you disrupt the rhythm of the enemy. We got to cut these cords that the enemy has sown throughout the earth for us to shift and change it into something better, into something new, into something that people will be happy to celebrate and do life and raise families in. If you're not at the stage where you want to raise a family, that's fine. But you trying to disrupt the rhythm of somebody that does just because you don't, that is wrong. That's wrong. Just like it's wrong if you trying to disrupt somebody else and they are content with where they at in whatever area that they're at. It's one thing to suggest something or to encourage somebody if they've already made their mind up on what they're going to do. That's something completely different. But you trying to intentionally shame other people, which I see a lot of people do today. You're trying to shame people. And the sad part about it is, I know a lot of y'all are really only trying to shame one person. You do it in vain, but I know that's what you're trying to do. But the problem is, the shame you're trying to throw on one person, you're shaming innocent bystanders, even though the person you're also trying to shame is innocent in comparison to you, because they ain't did nothing to you. You just don't like them. That's just your envy talking. Your envy ruling you. Your flesh ruling you. But when you do that and you're catching strays of people who may not have done the work mentally to be able to see through your mess, then you're causing shame to other people who wasn't even originally intended in the arrow you trying to shoot at somebody. And that's wrong. It's wrong for you to be shooting arrows anyway for somebody that's not thinking about you like that. But I know some of y'all gonna do it anyway because you like your flesh to rule you. We all gotta constantly work on our flesh. It doesn't matter how far along we may be in our walk with Christ. Rituals have a rhythm. So naturally, if your rhythm was fornication, if your rhythm was alcoholism, if your rhythm was promiscuity, if your rhythm was lying, if your rhythm was stealing, whatever your rhythm was prior to you choosing to serve Christ, to change your life, even if you change the soundtrack, you change the rhythm for the better, if you pause long enough on that new rhythm you've established, that old rhythm will try to reestablish itself. If you pause long enough, if you take too long of a grace period on your break, whatever it is you're doing, if you allow your distractions to be greater than you working on your rhythm, maintaining that new rhythm, that old rhythm will try to reestablish itself. And see, that's the mind of the enemy sometimes, right? Because some people believe that if they pause long enough and give it time, give it a grace period, that they can come back and reestablish their rhythm. That ain't how it work when you done put in so much work to be a new sound, to have a new sound, to have a new joy, to have a new walk, to have a new talk. You're not going to easily let the old rhythm disrupt your current rhythm. Don't let that go over your head. Don't let that go over your head. If you have established a new rhythm, a new walk, a new talk, a new way you dress, a new way you think, you can't easily allow your old rhythm to interrupt the new thing that you've established. We have to constantly ask God to fine-tune us to the rhythm that He wants us to be on. Because when you get on the frequency with God, it's easy for you to distinguish frequencies that are not of God. Even if they say, I, Jesus, or whatever, right? Even if they're pretending and trying to tell you that this is who they serve, because you are fine-tuned and on the frequency with God, you'll know what frequency and what sound is not. It's not up for people always to tell you what frequency is not right, right? Because experience is the greatest teacher. But at a certain point, at a certain time, the people who love you, they'll come to you directly especially if they're able. And they'll say, hey, baby. Hey, sis. Hey, bro. I noticed there was a little difference in your step, in your rhythm. You all right? I noticed you used to walk this way and talk this way, but you're not walking and talking that way today. You good? You need me to help you fine tune? That's love. Love will help you find your rhythm. If love know you was on 2 steps and somehow you done made it to 3, they gonna help you get back to 2 if 2 is your frequency and 3 you tripping. You on the wrong station. You on the wrong foot. And love will help you get back on the right foot. That's how Christ is. Versus the enemy who will push you further and further into debauchery, into darkness, into the things that are opposite of everything that Christ has called us to be. And sometimes we miss that because we allow the little foxes to pull us away. We didn't disrupt the little foxes coming into our garden to steal, and instead we fed them instead of starving them so they wouldn't come back. We got to catch the rhythm, and we got to be in tune with God to where we know his rhythm. So anytime that we're off of the rhythm of who he is, who he's called us to be, we can go back to the maker to help fine tune us. And sometimes if the maker is like, you a runner, you a track star like Jonah, he'll send you somebody sometimes to be like, hey, the Father is calling you. Just like your siblings do to you sometimes, right? If they love you, they'll directly check you. They'll tell you when you're wrong. They won't talk behind your back. They won't smile in your face and be talking about you. Now, all families have their little mess. Little mess. And you know the difference between a little mess and an intentional mess. You know what I mean? So, if you take nothing away from this, what I hope you gathered is, 1, rituals have a rhythm. Okay? Like the title says, rituals have a rhythm. And you have to disrupt some rhythms. Because if you don't, you put yourself at risk from losing something that was always yours, always intended for you. 2, when you're fine-tuned to God's frequency, it might have been 3. I ain't gonna count and mess it up. But when you're fine-tuned to God's frequency, it's easier for you to distinguish what's not on his frequency. So if you take nothing away, take those things, okay? Because rituals have a rhythm. And if you don't disrupt them, they will disrupt you. And all I know is I'm sick of these witches. I'm sick of them. Some of them are too old to be doing what they're doing, but they're going to continue to do it. Maybe some of them don't know how to get out. Maybe some of them feel like they can't get out. What I know is I'm sick of these witches. So if you're in a season where you got a lot of stuff going on, you can't pin it, you're worried about the state of the world, the state of your household, the state of your living situation, because I know there are a lot of people who are either already homeless technically. I know there are a lot of people that are working homeless. I know there are a lot of people up in these hotels. I know there are a lot of people dealing with a lot of different things, wondering about school, wondering about their children's safety, wondering about all of these different things. There are some things that the only way for there to be change is to be a disruption in the rhythm. And disruptions are not always comfortable, because then you have to reroute. You have to find a different way. You have to make a new sound. And sometimes that can take a while, depending on your belief. Not depending on the measurement of your neighbor and what they did and how fast they got XYZ, because a lot of people been doing that too. This is not no Christian Olympics where, oh, my faith did this and my faith did that and my obedience and, oh, wait till you find. This is not an Olympics. Especially not an Olympics with your neighbors that you're claiming to be your brothers and sisters. It's anything. It's your opponent is the devil, not your brother and sister in Christ. Some people don't understand that, so I felt like I had to say that. Some people are struggling with that. Some people are competing with their brothers and sisters in Christ, and they're not fighting the enemy with their brother and sister in Christ. I had to say that. Everybody's going through something. Maybe not the exact something. Maybe the something that somebody else is going through is like, dang, I got 50,000 shoes and I want to get 20,000 more. Maybe that's the something somebody could be going through, right? Maybe they are celebrating the fact that they have a lot and they can have a lot more. Versus there could be somebody who has little and is trying to figure out how they're going to get a little to expand the little that they have. I don't know everybody's situation at the moment. I just know that there's a lot of people going through different things. A lot of people sometimes fear change because, one, yes, it's scary. But two, you can only control change to a certain extent. After that, it does what it wants. Depending on what you're trying to change. It just depends. But I want y'all to stay encouraged. I want you to stay vigilant. I want you to stay asking God to fine-tune you so you can hear and catch the right rhythm. But y'all be easy. Have a great night. I shall catch y'all later. Love you later. Deuces.